Hello? Thanks for joining us again on the channel. This one's been on my radar for a while, and now, thanks to a friend who got his hands on it, I finally get to share the experience with you. Before we get started, feel free to check out the discount link in the description and the pinned comment. Now, let's not waste any more time and jump right into the details.
Now, let's hear directly from our first reviewer about their experience.
This reviewer has been using Powerline Ethernet technology for well over a decade and decided it was time for an upgrade. Their old setup was likely being bottlenecked by its slower Ethernet ports, so they hoped this new Powerline kit with gigabit ports would unlock more of their internet speed. Our reviewer notes their home has an almost perfect physical layout for this kind of technology. The outlets are on the same electrical circuit and are very close, separated only by a floor. The downside is that both outlets share power with other hydroelectronics, including a couple of uninterruptible power supplies, which can sometimes interfere with performance. When it comes to speed, this client points out a common misconception. The advertised speed is often just the rating of the physical port, not the actual data rate through the house's wiring. Using a special utility, they found the connection rate between the adapters hovered around 750 Mbps. In real-world internet speed tests, this translated to download speeds between 275 and 315 Mbps, a significant jump from their old adapters, but still about half of what they get from a direct Ethernet cable. Upload speeds, however, remained unchanged. What's particularly interesting is that the house has very old knob and tube wiring. Our reviewer speculates this might actually be an advantage due to the wider spacing of the wires, potentially reducing interference. This older wiring does, however, prevent the use of more advanced adapters that require a ground pin. The only major complaint wasn't about performance, but about the condition of the product itself. The set that was supposed to be new arrived looking very used, leaving this client debating whether to keep the functional but worn adapters or return them on principle.
To get things started, let's hear from our first reviewer.
This reviewer was looking for a way to get a stable, wired Ethernet connection to a room far from their router, without the hassle of running a very long cable across the house. For this specific need, a Powerline adapter kit seemed like the perfect solution, turning the home's electrical wiring into a network connection. It's important to understand that this kind of system is strictly for creating a wired Ethernet port. It does not extend a Wi-Fi signal. Our reviewer noted that the initial setup for this Powerline adapter kit was surprisingly straightforward, working right out of the box without any complicated pairing process. However, the choice of wall outlet proved to be critical. When initially plugged into a distant outlet, the performance was disappointing, with low speeds. Simply moving the router side adapter to a different, closer outlet dramatically improved the connection quality. This client stresses that for the system to be effective, both units must be plugged directly into a wall socket, completely avoiding surge protectors or extension cords. The main goal was to improve online gaming on a console, which suffered from occasional lag spikes over Wi-Fi. Interestingly, the initial performance was a step backward, with in-game latency jumping significantly higher than it was on the wireless connection. After a few days of settling in, the connection stabilized. While the baseline latency ended up being slightly higher than it was with Wi-Fi, the crucial difference was the elimination of those frustrating performance spikes. For our reviewer, trading a few milliseconds of ping for a completely stable and consistent gaming experience was a clear win. In the end, this system did exactly what it was supposed to do, providing a reliable wired connection where it was otherwise impractical and solving the core problem of instability.
Alright, let's find out what our next reviewer has to share.
This reviewer feels pretty strongly about this Powerline Ethernet adapter, and not all of it is good. The biggest issue right off the bat is the complete lack of firmware updates. Apparently nothing has been released since the product launched several years ago, which the reviewer finds unacceptable, especially considering potential bug fixes. This alone cost the product a star in their rating, a major downer right there. However, our reviewer had a specific problem that this type of device was the only solution for: a detached garage too far for Wi-Fi and impractical to wire with Ethernet. They needed a way to get a wired internet connection to the garage, so they decided to give Ethernet over Powerline a try. The reviewer shares some essential tips to get this particular system working effectively. First, you need to understand your fuse box and ensure both adapters are plugged into outlets on the same circuit side. This is crucial, they emphasize. Second, don't use power strips plugged directly into the wall. Third, download the TP-PLC app to monitor the connection speed. This app is mandatory. Getting a good speed, the reviewer notes, involves some trial and error. The initial connection speed was abysmal. They plugged the device into various outlets until they found one that delivered a reasonable connection speed. They found one outlet where the speed varied between 450 Mbps and 575 Mbps. The signal isn't perfectly steady due to electrical noise on the power lines, but it's stable and works reliably for them. A compromise. They had to run a short Ethernet cable between two rooms to connect to the router. All in all, this reviewer considers it a win, but they caution that if you lack patience or technical know-how, this might not be the right solution for you.
That's a wrap. If you enjoyed this, drop a like and subscribe for more. Got thoughts? Let's chat in the comments. See you in the next one.